When it comes to wholesaling and flipping real estate, most people only think about houses, but the reality is you can wholesale and flip more than just single family residential real estate. And this is part one of a two-part video series where I'm gonna break down how to wholesale land, not houses. Specifically, vacant buildable lots. It's actually in a lot of ways a lot easier than houses and may be a huge opportunity right under your nose. And on this video, I'm not just gonna tell you, I'm gonna show you coming up.
For a limited time, you can get a free copy of Jerry Norton's Quick Start Kit with everything you need to flip your first house in 30 days or less. Download it now at myquickstartkit.com.
If you're new here to this channel, I'm Jerry Norton with FlippingMastery.com, and this channel is all about ways to help you make money wholesaling and flipping real estate so you can live your dream life. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss new videos. Recently, I released a video where I show how I paid a wholesaler $40,000 for bringing me a land deal where I'm gonna build and flip a new construction home, and that video sparked a lot of interest about how to wholesale buildable lots. Now keep in mind, you can wholesale any and all types of real estate: apartments, mobile homes, storage units, condos. I once wholesaled an office building for $65,000. If there is a buyer for it, you can wholesale it. And a huge opportunity that most people aren't even aware of is with vacant buildable lots. Now, this is a lot in Georgetown, Texas, where I acquired the contract for $68,000 and then turned around and wholesaled it to an investor for $90,000 and made $22,000. So on this part one video, I'm gonna show you how to identify if wholesaling lots is a profitable opportunity in your market and the buy formula, which is a lot easier than you think, so keep watching. First and foremost, wholesaling anything starts with understanding your buyer. Once you know who your ideal buyer is and their buy criteria, you can start farming for leads. And in most markets, there is a niche strategy for an investor to buy a buildable vacant lot, build a new construction home, and then flip it to a retail buyer for a profit. This is known as spec building or spec investing. Spec meaning speculative, or in other words, without having a predetermined buyer, such as when a builder builds a home for a homeowner. Spec building, or what I call flipping new construction, is one of my primary flipping strategies that I've been doing for many years. In fact, I have systems and capital in place to build and flip new homes in any market in the US, and I'm looking for good buildable lots where I can build and flip new construction. Now, if you'd like to learn how you can get paid to bring me buildable lots that meet my criteria, then I want to invite you to a free training where you can learn how to be a lot finder for me. I'll put a link to register for that free training in the description box below. You do need to be a member of my Lot Finder program, so if you'd like to get paid to find vacant buildable lots for me, be sure to check out that free training. And like I said, wholesaling vacant buildable lots may be a huge overlooked opportunity in your market. The first thing you have to do is identify if there is a market for new construction in your area. What I mean by that is, are there enough spec investors in your market to determine that there is a demand for buildable lots? Is it a thing? Is it happening? The more it's happening, the more demand vacant lots are for spec investors, thus creating an opportunity for you to service them by finding and bringing them buildable lots. This is actually really easy to figure out. Let me show you. Let's go online to Redfin and search a market. Now, if you don't have Redfin, you can do the same thing on Zillow. I'm gonna choose Austin, Texas, since I know that's a good new construction market. Once I pull up Austin on Redfin, you can see it shows me a map with like 2,500 homes for sale. What I need to do now is create some filters to just look at new construction. So over here, click More Filters, then under Property Type, click House. So we're just looking at single family residential properties. Then turn off For Sale and turn on Sold, and change the time from 3 months to 1 year. So now we're looking at homes that have sold in the past year. Next, let's go to year built and put in 1 year previous from the current year. So since as of this recording, we are almost in 2020, I'm gonna use 2019, but even 2018 would probably work, but let's stick with 2019 for now. That gives me like 950 new construction sold homes that have sold in the past year that were built in 2019. Now, these are all spec investors. How do I know that? Well, think about it. It's not likely that someone started building a home in 2019 and then turned around and sold it in the same year. Homeowners just don't build a new home and sell it in the same year. That means all of these homes that were built and sold in the same year are investors who bought a vacant lot, built a new home, and then sold it on the open market to a retail buyer. So let's take a close look at our map. Since there are 950 sold comps, Redfin clusters them in groups or pockets, and if I put my mouse over these blue dots, it highlights a cluster and is telling me that in this particular pocket, there were 51 spec homes that sold. In this cluster, there were 66. In this cluster here, there were 72. So you can see that flipping new construction has been happening all over Austin, but notice right here, this whole area hasn't had any. That means there isn't a market for it there. Whereas right here in this pocket in South Austin, there were 105. Now, before we look any closer, let's add a price filter and put a minimum price of $500,000. The reason is because I want to make sure that I don't look at any low price production builders in like a subdivision that are selling on the MLS. So now you can see that right in the middle of Austin is where the majority of new construction flipping is happening over $500,000. So let's take this home right here that sold for $975,000. If I click on it, it will open a new window with that listing. And if I scroll down to the price history, you'll see that it sold as a new construction for $975,000. And if you look down below, this investor bought this property a little over a year earlier for $340,000. In this case, they bought the property on market, so that's why it's in the price history. If this investor bought this property off market, we wouldn't see the history here. We would have to look it up on public record, but what does this info tell us? They bought the lot for $340,000, built a new construction home that they sold a year later for $975,000. And this is interesting. If I click on the listing where they bought it, you can see that this was an old home. So they did a tear down. Now in some markets, the value is in the land, not the house, which was the case with this one. So here's the assumption. As a wholesaler, conceivably, if I could find another similar lot in that same area for $310,000, let's say, I could wholesale it to a spec investor like this for $340,000 and make a $30,000 wholesale. That's your wholesaling buy formula. What are spec investors paying for lots? Get a similar lot under contract for less and wholesale it. That's it. No complicated formulas. Now, if I did the same analysis across the board with all of these new construction deals, I could really learn the market. I'd have a handle on what spec investors pay for buildable lots. Once you know what new construction flippers pay for lots in any given area, you can farm for leads and find deals for these investors. Now let's do this one more time so you can see again how I came to this conclusion. If I go back to our map with all of our new construction comps and I click on this one here that sold for $659,000, then scroll down to the price history and you can see that this sold as a new construction property for $659,000 on September 27, 2019, and just 1 year earlier on September 4th, 2018, this property sold on market for $205,000, and if I click on it, you'll see that this was a vacant lot. So here's the assumption. As a wholesaler, if I could find another similar lot in that same area for $185,000, I could wholesale it to a spec investor like this for $205,000 and make $20,000. And again, if I did this across the board with all of these new construction deals, I could really learn the market. Once you know what new construction flippers pay for lots in any given area, you can farm for leads the same way you do for houses and find deals for these investors. When it comes to wholesaling lots, think about it this way. Everyone is looking for that distressed house with a motivated seller. That's very competitive. You can create a niche business model wholesaling buildable lots to spec investors. And since it's a vacant lot, the perceivable value is much less and sellers are way more open to accept big discounts. In other words, you can lowball and get good deals. Now I have a deal right now where the asking price was $70,000 and I offered $25,000 and the seller accepted. I love new construction. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm looking for buildable lots. So I'll put a link for that free training where you can learn my criteria and how to get paid finding lots for me. Now in the next video, I'm gonna show you how to find the cash buyer investors to wholesale these deals too. As soon as that video comes out, I'll put the link in the description box below for you. And if you learned something new on this video, hit that like button and leave a comment and let me know if you plan on wholesaling vacant lots. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to my channel. With hundreds of videos and new videos released every single week, this is the fastest growing channel on YouTube for all things wholesaling and flipping. And just so you can see how real this is, watch this next video where I pay a wholesaler $40,000 for finding a buildable lot for me. You'll be amazed at how easy it was for him to find and flip this deal to me. And don't forget, it's not about the money, it's about having the time and freedom to have, be, do, and give everything that God has in store for you. That's really what it's all about, and I'll see you on the next video.